Okay, I just wanted to kind of get this one in real quick. I just kind of want to talk a little bit about. Really, I have the Scorpio here, which is the eighth sign in the zodiac, but really I'm kind of focusing on the eighth house. It's only a single slide here. I don't want to go, 30, 40 minutes. I kind of just want to get these ideas out there and just different perspectives a little bit on some of these signs. And I talked about this a little bit in my masculine feminine series, and I am kind of going to revisit it a bit more. And that's mostly because I think people really don't appreciate or fully understand why femininity is associated with the negative, and why it's associated in some contexts flat out evil. But the eighth house is not a bad place to look if you kind of want to see where some of those traditions or stereotypes might come from. But I just want to do a brief topic into this. Specifically, with Scorpio, we're really kind of looking at the eighth house. And I know there are plenty of people out there that are, we really hate the eighth house equals Scorpio thing, or first house equals Aries. I'm not necessarily saying that, but if you are to understand the eighth house, there's a really good shot that you'll be able to derive a better understanding of those themes from the sign of Scorpio. First thing I want to talk about with the eighth house is its feminine designation. I know technically the houses aren't really given masculine and feminine designations. I tend to believe that the designations really kind of are there. Houses are really areas of life where things happen, but the gender or modality, as I like to call it, because gender is a touchy word, tends to be feminine. It's inward in focus, which is to say it's always from outside, pull within. It's about your relationship with what you're seeing or feeling or hearing or observing. Rather than you actively participating or putting something out there. This is about what you glean or pull in. As I put it here, when it comes to anything feminine, you want to think in terms of not what is. The goal of the eighth house, or anything that is feminine in terms of certain aspects of orientation, it's about preventing access. Okay. And so you're not trying to find out what things are, but rather what they are not. A big theme of the eighth house that I'm going to talk about just a little bit here is sort of, this is the spot where you are uncovering the secrets of the universe. Now, I'm not going to talk about, real quick, there's other aspects of the eighth house I'm not going to talk about with this one, which is to say other people's resources, taxes, sex, power dynamics. I'm not really working with that here. I'm not going to focus too much on that aspect of the eighth house. But I really want to talk about one of the things about the eighth house that I always kind of found odd was actually this thing here. Research is found in the eighth house. And we'll get to that in a second. Obviously, I'm jumping ahead. This is traditionally the house of the occult. Secrets, hidden secrets, the truth of the universe, right? Magic is found here. The darker, scarier things are found here. It's feminine, and I've talked about this briefly before. But the house is associated, has a life or death component. In fact, all, the houses associated with the water signs, the 4th, the 8th, and the 12th, have a life or death component. Yes, even the 4th house, which is, traditionally associated with home and happy subjects, but not really, because, if you have an unwanted guest in the home, things get really dire really quick. So life and death occurs there as well. But, they're the consequences of you invading someone else's home, probably is up to and including death. So, you find death all the time. It's what makes these houses a bit scary at times. And so you have to be very careful, when traversing the 8th house and getting into the occult, that you aren't, wandering into areas of life that really can impact you and, lead to your sudden demise. Sudden deaths occur here, right? It's 8th house's transformations occur here. It's, so it's you got to be very careful, trepidatious. What do again, it's about what comes to you, and it's about your ability to kind of wade away from danger. There's a the sign of Scorpio is ruled by Mars. There is a martial component here. It's much more. The tools associated in this house are you see a lot more. In terms of big attacks, big explosions, big changes, right? But I always found it interesting. Like, why is research found here? And research is one of those components of. You would think that research would really be more of a, associated with professors and researchers, and so we assume that's with our universities in the 9th house, and we'll get to that in a second. But no. The 8th house is actually where you conduct research, and if you pay attention to how research is done, every research study is all about trying to figure out what your data set isn't. You've observed a lot of these things. You're not here to tell the world what this research is, but rather what it is not. Any good quality researcher focuses on the feminine understanding of things, which you're trying to say, what isn't this, right? And the orientation at that point is always about it's about the concept of truth, right? Because you're trying to find out what's true, but you're doing so thinking in terms of not. Okay? It's the reason why truth actually isn't found in the 8th house, actually. We say it is, but it's not really. It's just the focus. In fact, feminine energy in particular, its relationship with truth is not about finding it, it's about finding out what isn't true, right? Femininity you'll find in a lot of different, sources, in ancient sources. Its relationship with truth is very, it has an aptitude towards truth, but it doesn't want to know truth specifically, right? That's a masculine task. So if you were to say that the feminine is exceedingly good at being able to be aware of truth, you could argue in some instances that the feminine is still adversarial to it, because it's adversarial to it. It has, a heightened reason to be aware of it and to stay away from it, right? Where it's only in the masculine sources where, masculinity on the flip side is far less aware of it, if not flat out ignorant of the truth. But the truth is its greatest friend and ally, right? It's actually a beautiful concept, the reason why I love masculinity and femininity and talking about both of them in this context. So when you're conducting this research, working this research, you're going through it, you're observing the data, trying to find out what it isn't, you basically take it, you stop short as to saying what is true. Instead, you trust that what you've done and the work that you've done is as close to determining what isn't true as you can get. And that leads you to the 9th house, where that's the place, it's associated with Sagittarius, masculine, where you take that research, you pull it together, and you say, well, then what is this? What is this pointing towards? Of course, remember, you have Sagittarius is with the archer, and the archer is pointing towards something. It's that something is truth, with a capital T, and so you theory craft it together as best as you can, in terms of being able to take what you've research in the eighth house, and then giving it a story, a narrative, a purpose, a theory, right? Because theories are what science is all about. Is about crafting and creating those theories. But that doesn't happen here. It's a very endlessly interesting topic to me. This is just another a little bit of a deeper focus on the concept. I'm not going to go much further than this for now. Questions, comments. I'm very very interested to see what you all feel about that, and if you want me to, if you have any suggestions for things for me to cover, just let me know. And I'll catch you in the next one.